Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. Today we're talking about the NBA draft with the top non-Victor Wembanyama big man. He will be the number one pick going to the San Antonio Spurs, but there are other bigs in this year's class. None of them are going to be better than Wemby, health-related concerns aside. Skill-wise, Wemby's the best, but there are other guys in this year's class that have a chance to stick in the NBA. Derek Lively is the one who comes to mind to me first. He was a top high school recruit, goes to Duke, starts off the season playing pretty horribly. I mean, he couldn't earn consistent minutes. He wasn't reliable on defense. His offense was non-existent. And then suddenly, midway through the year, he's versatile on defense. He's a top shot blocker, intense rebounder, finishing at the rim. Something clicked with Lively that second half of the year that made him look a lot more like the player who was a top high school recruit. In high school, he shot more from the perimeter. I'm not sure that's going to be part of his game in the NBA, but it was at least encouraging to see so many of those other qualities come out. And I think at this point, the way he finished that season, he could definitely talk his way into the lottery, top 14. I think he could be a top 20 guy for sure. When at one point we're talking about him as, oh, maybe should he go back for a second year? But hey, good for him. Finished the year strong. What changed with Lively, Tate?
I will say at the start of the year, he had Mason Plumlee syndrome where all he could do was dunk the basketball. If it was any shot outside of the paint or a dunk, it just felt like it was inevitably going to be a bad result. And I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was mental. I mean, obviously jumping up to the college game, there's all sorts of expectations. But I felt like John Shire, and give him credit, did a great job of kind of releasing him of some of those scoring responsibilities on offense and said, what we need you to do is to be an elite rim protector. We need you, if our guys, Jeremy Roach gets beat off the dribble, you just got to be on the back end. So kind of what we see with Anthony Davis right now in the playoffs. If you get beat, first guy gets beat, we got someone behind you to take care of it. The Carolina game in Cameron was the game that was the, oh, wow, he is who we thought he was kind of moment for Lively. Felt like he got a lot of confidence in that game in that moment. And from there, you're just saying, if you forecast ahead, you hope he's at the worst a Nick Richards, a Mason Plumlee type. And if he can develop some of that offensive game that we saw in high school, who knows? He could be a guy that should have been a surefire lottery pick.
Yeah, I still think it's feasible that he maybe should have gone for another year. But if you think about where teams are probably going to reach for him, it's probably in that like 10 to 20 range, because it's always a big gamble to take players like him. But I think over the course of the year, we saw, as you said, his role simplified to the point that is probably what he's going to project as going forward. And you have to ask yourself, you have to kind of draw a little spectrum in your mind of on this side, we have like a skinny kind of 3-level hypothetical rim protector. Is he going to be a Nick Claxton, a Robert Williams type, or is he going to be a Willie Cauley-Stein type? And I've had people express to me that he's maybe more over here on the Willie side. I think that the big thing for him is like he was sort of mentally catching up with the game in a way, and I'd had people tell me that maybe he was not done any favors in the way that they play defense for him in lower levels. I think he's catching up. He's got great instincts in terms of like ambidextrous blocking the ball. He targets the ball pretty accurately without fouling a lot of the time. But I think he projects as like a hard rim roller. Like he's going to be a simple player, but it just becomes a question of how high is too high to reach for him, because he's going to be a long-term project, I think.
There are moments that he had at Duke this season where he showed like a playmaking instinct, like finding kick-out shooters, and he did that in high school as well, that I wonder like if you paired him with Trae Young with the 15th pick, or if Steve Kerr decided to run more pick and roll with Steph like he did during the postseason, pairing him with Steph, get Lively going on the short roll, somebody like that. I wonder if that could unlock a new dimension of Lively's game as well, that, rather than just the hard rolling like a Clint Capella type. I think there could be a little bit more there with him. Tate, is there another prospect in this year's class you think is a top big man that could be drafted in the first round?
Yeah, I will say congratulations to Wemby. He has been labeled a big. A lot of times when you're that skinny, they want to just call you tall and not a big. Obviously, we saw that with Dirk Nowitzki, and he didn't play like a big, so we understand that. But Wemby doesn't play like a big either, but he's considered a big. A guy that I really like is Noah Clowney, who was at Alabama with Brandon Miller. I think that he didn't shoot the percentage-wise great from the three-point line, but I love his form. And for whatever reason, I just feel like it's going to develop. I think that he is fine taking corner threes. I think he's a big body, 6'10". He's also from Zion's hometown, Zion Williamson, Spartanburg, South Carolina, so I like that little connection there. And in general, I just think Noah Clowney seems to be a really hard-nosed guy. Nate Oates loved coaching him. He multiple times in press conferences talked about Noah Clowney and how much he meant to this team. He didn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, But in general, I just think Noah Clowney is going to be a nice prospect and a nice big.
I love Clowney. And he had a stretch of the season where he shot 40% from three. And granted, it was just a streak, and he shot very poorly at other moments of the season.
But it got you, right? You remember it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's hitting corner threes, above the break threes. You could see him as a pick and pop guy. And defensively, Clowney brings the type of versatility that NBA teams desire. He can play different schemes.
Yeah. And I think if you weigh him against Lively, I think the offensive certainty, I feel a little bit better. I don't feel as queasy about it as I do with Lively. And I think Clowney, I think you hit on it. Yeah, I think the mechanics and stuff are promising. He's a decent athlete. I wouldn't say he's a super athlete, but yeah, I think all that's solid.
And free throw shooting, right? I mean, he should be a better free throw shooter. He was not in college, and I think based on his form, that will get better because now all he has to worry about is going and working on his game.
Trace Jackson Davis is the other guy from Indiana, a senior that could end up going in the first round. Is there anybody internationally, Kyle, that could be a first-round pick as a big?
Yeah, I have what I call a bargain bin, sort of he doesn't, I don't know if he fully graduates to bargain bin status because he's a dark horse, we'll say that. This is James Nagy, who plays for FC Barcelona. Big, strong frame. He's a really fluid mover. He has really great hip mobility, which makes me think that he could. I've heard people discuss about how flexible he'll be in terms of scheme and how you can play him at the next level, but I don't really worry about that. I think he's got a body type in the vein of an Okongwu or maybe even an Adebayo. But it is it's a gamble because offensively he's super raw, and he didn't get to really play a whole lot on the team that he was on with FC Barcelona because they were so good. Had a lot of really good former pros like Miricic and Sadaransky, but he seems like somebody, if you have the time and you have the need, he strikes me as somebody that could eventually, he's just a dog. I know that's an overused word these days, but on the offensive and defensive glass and pursuing the basketball, he's an animal. I love his energy.
Does he have that type of scheme versatility to play maybe some drop coverage, switch? Is he somebody that can run out to the perimeter and blitz a pick and roll?
Yes, I think that he's going to be able to hold his own in open space better than you would think for his size. He has, it's deceptive how well he can move for how big and strong he is.
This isn't the strongest year for bigs outside of Victor Wembanyama going one, but I like a lot of these guys. I think most of them are going to stick around the NBA. Najee, the one with the biggest question, is a mysterious international guy, a bit more raw, but all these other guys in their own way, Lively, Clowney, Jackson Davis, and Najee, I like them all, and all four could end up going in the first round this year.